All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle one of the most influential and, yeah, controversial books of the 20th century, Friedrich Hayek's The Road to Serfdom. This is one of the biggest questions we face in any modern society, and two of the most brilliant thinkers of the last century gave us completely opposite answers. In one corner, you've got John Maynard Keynes, who said the government absolutely has to step in and fix things. And in the other corner, Friedrich Hayek, a fierce defender of the free market. Believe it or not, their intellectual clash still defines so much of our world today. To really get Hayek, you gotta understand the world he was living in. Picture this. It's the 1930s. The Great Depression has hit. Unemployment in the US is at a staggering 25%. Faith in free markets? Totally shattered. People were absolutely desperate for a solution. So, into this crisis steps Keynes. And he's got an answer that, well, just about everyone loved. He said the problem was a demand shortage. Basically, people weren't spending. The solution? The government should spend money to create jobs and get the economy humming again. This idea was a huge inspiration for things like President Roosevelt's New Deal. But right as the whole world was jumping on this government intervention bandwagon, Hayek published this bombshell of a book. He was basically screaming, wait, stop, arguing that this road, which seemed so well-intentioned, didn't lead to prosperity. It led to tyranny. And this quote right here, it really gets to the heart of it all. It's about what he called intellectual humility. Hayek thought it was just pure arrogance to believe that a small group of really smart people in the government could ever successfully design something as complex as an entire economy. Okay, so what is this road to serfdom he's talking about? Well, Hayek saw it as this incredibly dangerous, step-by-step process, a slippery slope that starts with the very best of intentions. See, it all starts with the government trying to do something good, right? Like tackling unemployment. But to make the plan actually work, they have to take more and more control. They start controlling prices, then wages, then what gets produced. And, according to Hayek, this inevitably chips away at your freedom, bit by bit, until you end up at a place you never intended to go, a totalitarian state. So you might be asking, why was Hayek so convinced this would fail? I mean, why couldn't a smart group of people just plan things out? Well, it all boils down to one brilliant concept he called the knowledge problem. This was Hayek's big aha moment. He realized that the knowledge needed to run an economy isn't sitting in some book or in one person's brain. It's scattered, dispersed across millions and millions of different people. Just think about the specific things every single farmer, shop owner, and customer knows. It's impossible to gather all that information in one central place. And the genius of the free market, he said, is that it solves this problem automatically through prices. Think of prices as this amazing decentralized communication system. If the price of lumber goes up, that's a signal. It instantly tells builders and suppliers all over the world that lumber is more scarce and they should use less of it or find alternatives, all without a single government command. So here's the kicker. When a government steps in and starts setting prices or wages, it's like they're putting on a blindfold and trying to fly a plane. They are destroying the only reliable signals they have, which often just ends up making the original problem way worse. But it wasn't just about economics for Hayek. He had this really chilling political warning, too. He argued that in a centrally planned system, the people who rise to power aren't the kind and decent ones. No. To enforce a massive economic plan on an entire country, you need people who are ruthless, who don't care about individual rights. In his own famous words, the worst get on top. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds like some dusty old debate from the 1940s, right? Wrong. This tension between Hayek's warning and Keynes's call for action is more alive today than ever before. You can literally watch the pendulum of ideas swing back and forth over the last century. For decades after World War II, Keynes was king. Then the 1970s hit and, bam, stagflation, high inflation, and high unemployment. Suddenly, everyone's reading Hayek again. Then, of course, the 2008 financial crisis happens, and governments everywhere go right back to Keynesian stimulus and bailouts. And today, we are right back in the thick of this very debate. Seriously, just turn on the news. When you hear people arguing about stimulus checks, inflation, government debt, or bailing out major industries, what you're actually hearing are the ghosts of Hayek and Keynes battling it out. It really does shape almost every major economic policy we talk about. So what's the big takeaway from all this? The road to serfdom is, at its core, this powerful, timeless warning. It forces us to face a really uncomfortable trade-off, the one between security and liberty. And it demands that we think hard about the unintended consequences of even our best-laid plans. Look, Hayek's work doesn't give us a simple, neat answer. But what it does is leave us with maybe the most important question of all. Where do we draw that line? And that is a question we are still wrestling with every single day.